All right, let's see. Make sure this is working. There's that. Let's do... All right. Put the first thing in. Make sure this is working. What's up? Fix this. Okay, that should come across there. And that is in my way. That's all that is. It's my transfer cord. There. Okay, I think everything is set up. We have to start doing some standalone episodes to get some stuff that's really fallen behind taken care of. Because, like, the Marvel Legends has almost gotten to the point where it's somewhat out of control compared to the other stuff. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm in no major rush or anything like that. So, update, because we always like to do the update. This has been a week. I finally got my tooth fixed, 100%. It's done. It's nice. It's nice to have it all the way done and everything like that. I don't have to deal with that anymore. Also, I spent the whole week trying to figure out how I was even going to get to work, like back and forth. I lost my truck broke down, and then the very next day, my wife's car broke down. So this week has been a nightmare. It's not been great. Okay? So that whole thing has been playing, which is the reason I did no editing at all. We've been leaving at like 5 a.m. to get to work, and then coming home sometime around like 6, 7 o'clock at night, just to make it. And it's just been a nightmare. It's not been great. Have not enjoyed it. That's life sometimes. Got my car back last night, so a lot of that should ease up, and I hopefully should be doing videos again. Hopefully as early as tomorrow, in all honesty, if not tonight. But yeah, that was a real damper. It put a major halt on everything that I was doing. So far, storage is winning. Hey, what's going up? Going up. What's going on? Last night, did get a mail delivery that was pretty cool. Got the combatants delivered, which I was not exactly... I wasn't expecting them this soon. I got the notice that they were shipping, but like, it's very weird. I only live a couple hours away from Big Bad. I could drive there myself if I really wanted to. If they would let me drive and just pick up from their warehouse and drive back, I could do that. I could literally do it. I'm fully capable of doing it. I live that close. It'd be a little bit of a trip, but I'm just saying it's very possible. And yet, they'll send me a notice and say, hey, this has shipped. It's coming your way. But because of the way that shipping routes work, I sometimes won't get that for like a week or so after they say that it's shipped. And I understand why that happens. I mean, I work in logistics. I get what's going on, but like, it's when you know the distance, it feels weird because it feels like if there was some direct truck that was coming my way, but there's not, because that doesn't make financial sense to have like a UPS direct like delivery service or whatever that drives right out to me for like one box of 2 figures or whatnot. That's stupid. But sometimes my mind that understands logistics and routes gets put on hold and goes, they're only like 3 hours away. And then like it says, hey, this is on the way. And I'm like, great. And then like it's a week and a half or something like that before I even get it. And I'm like, what happened? But I know what happened. So it's just like a weird whole thing. Like my mind. Yeah. Have you seen the Big Bad Workshop NPC figures? They look pretty cool in their unpainted prototypes so far. Well. Oh, well, that was stupid. There we go. I'm not sure. Like, I'm on Big Bad right now, and I'm not seeing. Then again, maybe I don't know exactly what I'm even looking for, if I'm being perfectly honest. Man, there's a lot in the workshop, isn't there? Like, I never come in here. Are you talking about Project Atlas stuff? Like the big bulky dudes or whatever? I'm not sure. There is a lot of stuff in here though, man. They've been rocking it out, haven't they? I never really pay too much attention to like the projects unless it really catches my attention. Like it has to really catch my attention to like leave workshop and like I notice it, but I notice it in passing. I'll notice things like I know they did that Madman. I seen it. I know they do the Operation Monster Force. I like some of that, but like I'm not going out of my way for it either. I like stuff like Order of the Crimson Moon. That caught my attention because it was very much like the kind of Cobra thing that we've been looking for a long time. But now we're about to get that Cobra thing that we've been looking forward to for a long time. So like it doesn't hold the same power that it did. Like almost immediately they were like, "Hey, this is going to be a thing." And then all of a sudden it wasn't. Like how do I put this? They released that and he's red and he's got the cowl and everything and it looks right. He's got the hood and I'm like, "Oh man, simple repaint and that could go for Cobra Commander." Only for like Hasbro to turn right around and be like, "Hey, we gave you the Executioner's hood." And I'm like, "Well, now I don't even need that guy because that's the only reason I was even going to buy that guy." So like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I have seen it. If it's the blank body things that you're talking about, they look fine. I think they could be used for some pretty good customs in general, if that's what you're talking about, but I'm not 100% sure. Excuse me. Let's see. Really? Okay. Storage. Okay. Well, let's grab something. These gotta move. Move. What is we have talked about those. Oh, okay. Well, here's one. Oh my. We're going to have to go through that box. So, that's the thing about moving, right? Her arm is gone. Every time you move, you got to pack up your stuff. And every time you pack up your stuff, there's the real possibility that you might lose something. Looks like the pin must have come out at some point for this one. And her arm is no longer great. Am I super mad or anything like that? I didn't hate this figure, but this is not one of my favorite looks at all. I be honest with you, I think I may have bought this. I think I was in a Harley Quinn like thing for a while. Yeah, I don't see it in there. I'll have to look for it later. Anyways, so for a while, I was on a bit of a Harley Quinn kick. I wanted to get all the different looks and get them like up on the shelf. That was what I was doing. So anytime that I would go to like Six Flags or whatever, and I would come across the Harley Quinn stuff, I would buy it. That's how I ended up with this. Am I going to miss the fact that this Harley Quinn is no longer on the shelf? No, I could fix this. I might fix it, but then if I do, I'd really just be selling it, and I'd have to sell it with a caveat that says, hey, I've repaired the arm. Do I care enough to do that? I honestly don't know. This is around the point in time when the Harley Quinn look, it started feeling like it was losing its way. Now, I will say this. I'm on board for this look in certain aspects. And what am I talking about that? What am I talking about? This look was around the time that she had 100%, she was in that process of breaking down who she was and leaving the Joker behind. Stopping that character flaw that she's had for so long, that she is infatuated with the Joker and he never does anything for her, that is a terrible relationship. And the people that sometimes will take Harley Quinn and the Joker, and I see this all the time online, people that just do not know, they'll be like, this is the relationship I want or whatever, and they'll post them dancing or things like that, like them being together or something. That is not the relationship you want. And if it is, reevaluate. Because the whole point of the Harley Quinn Joker relationship is that it is an abusive relationship in almost every single way. It is unhealthy and not okay. And she starts to figure that out. She starts to pull away. But because she still hasn't really figured herself out, pulling away becomes this mess, and her whole life goes wild. She starts jumping basically from guy to guy. She has 2 or 3 boyfriends that she starts messing around with. She becomes incredibly active. We're going to just phrase it that way. Not that she always kind of wasn't, but you get the idea. And then her look starts changing, and she starts changing her look quickly. She goes through 2-3 looks pretty quickly in if I'm remembering that, this was the New 52 stuff, where they were kind of playing with this idea of kind of redesigning her. And then she showed up in things like Suicide Squad and things like that. And she went through a couple of different looks that they were testing, where they gave her a main look, but then they would kind of find reasons to change her outfits and things like that. And they were playing around with this aspect that she's going to have to find herself. That takes time. It takes time for everyone and anyone. Even arguably, it should in comic books. Not everybody gets their icon look right off the bat. And if your icon look, which hers was, and I'm not saying that's not an absolutely fantastic icon look, the Jester look is ideal for Harley. But it's tied to an incredibly negative point in her life. So if we're to look at this from a character aspect, not a comic book nerd aspect, where we go, I want it to have this costume because that's the costume that I grew up with, and it's the only one that matters, and all the other costumes are trash. Okay, well, that's fine. And I'm not saying you're wrong. The Jester outfit is fantastic, and they hit it ground one, just like Spider-Man. There are some characters that hit their icon look right off the bat, but that look is tied to an incredibly negative aspect of the character's life. Not just in terms of her being a villain and now they're trying to make her a hero or an anti-hero, but it's also tied, realistically, if we're to look at these people like characters and real people, to one of the worst moments of her entire life, tying her forever to this moment. If she wears that outfit and embraces it, sure, we're happy because of the icon look, but the character would be miserably stuck in the past. And it's not like you could say things like, oh, well, she'll take the look back and make it her own. Not unless she changes it. That look for her is tied to the Joker and that time, and she's trying to pull away from that. And that's where stuff like this starts happening. They have to find a look for Harley Quinn, and the character itself has to find a look that's going to work for Harley Quinn. So we get things like this. And I know a lot of people started getting mad and saying, oh, well, now she's like hypersexualized and yada yada and all this other stuff. And I'm like, she was always very adult. She had more innuendos in a child show than any other character the whole run. She was always designed that way. She's always kind of promiscuous, kind of flirty. She's that person. And she is very adult. So when you take that aspect and you run it into a comic book, and the comic book gets really lax and just kind of lets you do a lot of different things, you're going to get looks like this. It's not my favorite look. I'm not going to miss this on the shelf. And you'll notice that this didn't show up in the McFarlane stuff either when they were doing Harley Quinn stuff. This is not something, he didn't deep dive into this. I don't think we got this figure. Will I fix this? Will I put it back on the shelf? I don't believe so. I respect storyline-wise, in hindsight, what was going on here. I do. I really do. The initial shock of it was like, I don't think I like this. And then, of course, I found the figure, and I was trying to put all the different Harley Quinns on the shelf, like kind of a timeline, so I bought it. It sat on the shelf for a while. I moved. It went into storage boxes, and it stayed there ever since, because I've had no desire to dig it back up and put it back on the shelf. So while I understand and kind of fall into the background of how I see the character's development and what I think is going on comic book wise and world wise for the character, I think this does make an interesting amount of sense, because it is a mess. And she is a mess at that point. I don't know. There's also the fact that this is not a great figure, okay? It doesn't fit some of my criteria. It can't even sit down. Like, that's the best it can do, and that's like, it's like weird. So that doesn't help. I don't like the articulation. It has a thigh swivel, but not an ankle pivot or swivel at all. And so it can't, like, there's a lot of things it can't do. Its arms have the bicep swivel, which helps a lot. But the 90-degree elbows, I mean, this isn't something, I'm not going out of my way for this. It's leaving the collection. And I don't even know if I'm going to fix it. Should I just toss this? Should I keep it as some kind of fodder? Can I get parts off of it that maybe I can use for something else? I don't know. Doubtful. It all seems like it's one brick. This is about the only removable thing. Could I reuse the head for something? I don't know. That's an argument. Could I take this and reuse the head, get a body, a blank body, and make my own Harley Quinn-esque design? Could I do that? Because that might have merit. There might be something cool that I can salvage off this and design something myself. That would be neat. I'll have to look through the 1/12 scale, like, costumes and designs and see what I can come up with. That might be neat. And I could reuse the head sculpt and get something. I could turn this into a project. I think I could. Maybe. Now that I'm thinking that way, I think there's some merit to it before I get rid of it. That's why I have this. That's why it's stuck around for as long as it has. That's my thoughts on it. But I think, in the long run, I don't care to put an entire lineage of Harley Quinn on the shelf. Definitely not anymore. I don't care for the character the way that I used to. And on top of that, I don't think it's that great of a figure or that great of a look. Maybe this look could pass the test on a better figure with a better body, maybe something designed along those lines. And I would say this is kind of a moment in history. It's neat. It kind of makes me think about like our past decisions and why we change as we move forward as individuals. I could maybe make that argument. I don't have that argument to make here with this figure. This is going bye-bye. The NPC figures will be cool for background characters or random. Oh! I know what you're talking about now. The NPC. Yes. Yes. As soon as you said that, that makes sense to me. It took me a second to realize what you were talking about. But yes, those are pretty cool. They're just like guys. Yeah, that is actually pretty cool. I like that idea because if you're doing anything diorama or anything like that, you could utilize them and really like make your stuff come to life. Like Spider-Man needs to be able to save people. Like there needs to be like some regular mafia guys or something like that. Like that is actually pretty cool. Still a bit of a drop. Like you're asking for some real money because you're probably talking $40, $50 per figure. And that's a lot to get just nobody figures. But then one could argue that a portion of what we buy, depending on what we buy from, is nobody figures. And what am I talking about when I say nobody figures? Let's be honest about something real quick. What's this? That's a nobody figure. This does not have a giant comic book lineage. It does not have a show. It does not have a movie on TV. It does not, as far as I understand, it's not tied to any kind of history or anything. It's its own toy line, which has its own lore, its own storyline, and its own character designs. And that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But in the long run, does that tie it to any of our nostalgia or any of the reasons that we buy things? Why do I buy a Red Sonja? Because I love Red Sonja. Why do I buy a Gilius Thunderhead? Because I grew up with Golden Axe. Why do I buy Marvel Legends? Because I love Marvel characters, and that plays a pretty significant role in my life. Why do I buy a bunch of DC stuff? Because I was a huge, and still am for the most part, a huge DC fan, and a lot of those characters still speak to me in major ways. Why do I buy Ninja Turtles? Because I grew up with Ninja Turtles, and it's still a standout part of my life. Why do I buy all the Star Trek over there? Why do I buy Ghostbusters? Why do I buy Star Wars? Why do I buy Mario? Why do I buy, like, you get the idea how every single thing that we collect can easily be tied back to just like these like Motu. Motu I didn't discover until I was actually an adult, but there is a nostalgia tied to it that's not that far back, but it's there. All of these are properties that are tied into something. And then you have Bernice. Who's that? Oh, well, Bernice is this right there. See all that? That's what Bernice is. Okay, great. What's that? You don't have an answer for that, aside from to say it's a cool figure. I bought Neve. She's right there. Who's that? Sneve. Yeah, but what is that? Well, it's part of, Mythic Legions or whatever. And then somebody goes, what's that? Like, why does that matter? Was that like a show you used to watch? No. A video game you played? No. You can't tie it back to anything. It's just guys. It's cool. Caught your attention. You bought it. It's this guy. It's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is interesting to watch that mentality come back into toys over the years, where there were a lot of things that I bought when I was a kid that I bought because it was cool. It was neat. It's a whole new idea. It opens your imagination. It expands your world. That's cool. But a lot of that stuff is not a thing in regular collecting. It's really not. So one could argue that the NPC guys is also cool. Why'd you buy a cheerleader or a mafia guy or a cop or a firefighter or whatever? Why? because I need them for the displays. I need them. I need them to like enhance the world that I'm building or whatever. Especially if you're doing photography, these kinds of things are missing. We can have heroes fighting villains. That's cool. But where's the hero fighting villains where there's also like a couple of cops in like a warehouse setting or something where Spider-Man's trying to take somebody down and the cops are there with him or whatever? Like, where's that? Where's Captain America alongside a couple of random soldiers? And I know you can kind of use G.I. Joes, but people are going to notice the G.I. Joes and they're going to say, oh, he's there with Scarlet or Snake Eyes or Gung Ho. So that's not the same idea. It's not what you're looking for. You would have to buy random Joes like the Sniper and stuff like that. The random G.I. Joe guys that don't have a callback to something specific. If you put Jody Shooter Craig alongside the Punisher, that's Jody Shooter Craig sitting next to the Punisher, and those are two defined characters. You now split the focus between two characters. But if you want the Punisher to stand out in a situation, you put him with NPCs. They still dot the landscape and create the picture, but they don't take the focus off the main drive. I think the NPCs are fabulous for people that are into the photography side of this hobby, but it will cost them to create it. Do you want 4 or 5 cops? Because you never know, you might need that many to kind of create the scene that you're looking for. Well, if we say we want to buy 5 cops at $40 a piece, that's a lot. Can you justify that much? I think some of us can, but not all of us. So it'll be interesting to see how these sell. It really will. Okay, let's set this up before we move on. Let's do... I got that today. Oh, okay. There. Move these back to where they go. Let's fix this. Just want to say, Bill, have a great Sunday. And the question I want to ask, what are your thoughts on Mattel's wrestling figures? I don't have any. On a personal note, I think that I should buy 2 wrestling figures. I really do. And not because I like anything about them. I don't know anything about them. But I need and this is being honest, for research purposes, to see what they've done with their wrestling line. And because my only field of reference right now is Motu in terms of what could be coming for the DC stuff. But the wrestling line is also something that they've done and had a lot of success with, and they could copy that line to create a lot of superhero aspect. I don't know if it's good or bad. I need a female figure and I need a male figure, and I need to see them and kind of work them over. I need to see what their joint configuration is. I need to see whether they hold up. I need to see if they break easy, if they feel gummy. Different things like that would be important to see because I haven't seen yet. I don't watch wrestling. I never watched wrestling. I could never get past it. This is weird, but it's true. When I was growing up, I had some situations play out, and my grandfather put me in boxing. And then my stepmom got me to start hanging out. My stepmom got me involved with somebody that trained me personally. So I was trained in mixed martial arts. I was trained in boxing. And while I was doing this, everybody I knew, was watching wrestling. They were into wrestling. But as I started getting into something that was real, I started having a real distaste for wrestling. And why? Why did I feel that way? Because I watched boxing with my grandpa. I actually was taking boxing. I had 13 fights in, so there was the type of boxing club where everybody that was a part of this gym, basically, they would spar. We would go into weight classes and things like that. We would spar, and I had 13 fights during that time. And sometimes we would travel and basically set up matches between gyms or other practicing clubs, and that's how we would get like fights. We'd be like, hey, these two guys, it was all gear, by the way. It wasn't like it was, so like I had headgear, I would wear the stuff, like, so it wasn't like 100% a full contact, head exposed, taking hits. Not that I haven't done that. I have sparred without gear, but there's a rule generally in sparring. You need to go as hard as you're willing to have somebody go against you, and that's kind of how that works out. If you're in a good gym, if you're in a bad gym, you could get hurt. I'm just gonna put it that way. Not everybody is interested in the sport. Some people are interested in hurting people, and I have encountered that as well. I've encountered somebody during a spar that just wanted to show off and be tough, and they hit me hard. I hit them back. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it to you. And if you've ever encountered that situation, you know. So during that time, all my friends are really into wrestling. All of them. And there's this problem that I see crop up. And it could be an association problem. I don't know. But oftentimes, and this is back when I was a kid, wrestlers were looked at as these superstar fighters. I would even hear the term, the best fighters in the world. They're not. I would hear them compared to actual people who actually fight for a living, who put their blood on the line, take hits, mangle their bodies, and take damage over the course of years of development for that chance to get somewhere, to be somebody, to make that money, just to put that food on the table. These guys are warriors. They're fighters, real fighters. And all of a sudden, these actors, because that's the way I viewed them. Look, they're going out on a stage, which is the ring, and they're doing ridiculous things that would never be okay in the actual sports. And they're like the big law. I know it's a storyline, but you got to understand where I was coming from at the time that put me off of wrestling, and I was never able to necessarily get over it. My friends were looking at this like it was real. I was watching boxing. I would talk about Lennox Lewis, and they would talk about The Undertaker. And then you would have these arguments, these stupid arguments, where people would talk about something like, they would say things like, oh man, Sweet Chin Music, he's got one of the best kicks in the world. And I'm like, have you ever seen fighting? Because he could do one side kick and slap his leg real hard. That's one of the best fighters on the... What? Like, it used to mess me up. Now, I don't want to take away from what these guys do. Because regardless of the fact of how I felt about it then, I fully understand that these guys tear up their bodies. They are putting on a show every night, a choreographed fight scene. And I'm not saying they don't get hurt. I'm not saying they don't take some real hits. But it is important to sell the fight to make it work. And there is a script involved, and there is a business behind it that determines who is going to be important or win fights or push storylines before they ever got in the ring. You don't have that in real fighting. That's the reason you put two people in a ring and you've looked forward to this octagon fight. I'm just going to phrase it that way for a very long time. And then you get to that fight and you're very excited. You're watching your pay-per-view or you're watching your Netflix in this case, and everybody's very excited and they've been looking forward to this, and this is going to be one of the fights of the century, and it goes less than 2 minutes in round one. And it's over. We're done. We're done. Why? Because in a real fight, one good hit, one good submission, one mistake, it's over. And even the better fighter can slip up. The person who is the best, the person that's arguably better than the person they are fighting, and that other person probably doesn't even have the business to be in that ring in the first place, and yet one screw up, one slip, and they get caught under the chin, and it's over. And that is real fighting. Mistakes happen in wrestling stuff. That's fine. That's true. But my mind, and I used to argue with people all the time. And like I said, this is an association problem. But like, I would be like, listen, man, I know you've never been in a real fight, so you don't understand. But if this guy came out with a weapon and was hitting you with a weapon, even a weapon as simple as a chair, and you got hit for real in the face with a chair, you're going down. And then you'll be lucky if you move past that point, because if they start hitting you with the chair on the ground, they're going to cause real damage. And my friends would say things like, you don't understand. They're trained to take that. Nobody is trained to take a crowbar or a bat. Or it's not a thing. So like, these kinds of situations would play out in my friend circles. And it would like add a disdain for wrestling that was really hard for me to get past, if not impossible. And it really sat with me for years. And even when I would go to their house and I would watch sometimes, because like they'd invite me over. They'd be like, hey, we got a pay-per-view and yada yada. And so I'd go over to their house and I'd watch the pay-per-view with them. And they used to be mesmerized. And I could never figure this out as to why, but I'd be like, he's going to win. And they'd go, well, no, because blah, blah, blah. I'm not even telling you he's going to win. And I was looking at the storyline. I was looking at, all right, this is the story thus far. These two guys, yada, yada, this situation. How do they sell this and make a lot of money and surprise a lot of people and keep things running? This has to happen. And I could call the fight as I was going. I was like, this guy's going to start winning. Now he's going to take control back. Now they're going to flip-flop this. Now this is going to look like the end. Now the fight's going to be interrupted. And I would call these things as they were happening. And they would sit there because, like, they, like, thought it was real. I had a couple of friends that knew that it was BS, that it was a show, and you're supposed to enjoy it for what it is, a show. Then I had friends that, like, thought these guys were fighting. This is an actual sport. They actually fight. And while they do take bumps and things like that, they're not fighters. They're some of the best fight choreographers on the planet. I'll give them that, because that's what they are. And anybody that's ever done fight choreography as well, and I have done that as well, knows that you get hurt doing fight choreography. Sometimes you get kicked, you get hit, you fall down, you get put in situations where you might have to take an arm bar or somebody's on your neck or something like that. Yes, it's acting. Yes, it's planned out. But when you act as a stunt fighter in a scene, you're going to take hits sometimes. Choreography also leaves bruises and battering. And they are, wrestling people, basically, are the best fight choreographers on the planet, because even if they're not as stylized as some of the stuff that you would see on like a movie, they do it live in front of people all the time. And it must be right or someone will get hurt. And then they have to improvise if something does happen. And like, that's incredible. You got to hand it to the skill that it takes, and to be in the mental state and the physical state to be able to handle that situation live and do some of the things that they're asked to do. And I'm not saying, I understand some people, they do actually bleed, and some people actually do get hurt, but that does happen when you're putting on a show like that. Yes, some of these guys are in that situation and they tear their body up and they get nothing for it, and that's wrong too. I've seen a lot of the behind the scenes about how some of these people are treated. But like when I was growing up, I was watching real fighting. I was doing real fighting. And so to have these men and women referred to as real fighters used to really not sit right with me. So, like, I've actually been asked this a couple of times. Do I collect wrestling figures? No, not at all. Like, at all. There have been wrestlers that I like. I like The Undertaker. I like some of the gimmicks and the goofiness. I disagree when people say, "Oh yeah, but wrestling has gotten so ridiculous now. It's so goofy now." It was always goofy. RoboCop has been in the ring. What? Like, I'm sorry, it was always goofy. Maybe you just see it more as you've gotten older. It was always kind of dumb, but you like went along with it on a personal level. That's the way it always felt to me. I was always looking at it from the outside. I always saw a show, not a fight, not a sport. And I still kind of do. And I really, it puts a bad taste in my mouth when people refer to wrestling as an actual combat sport, because it's not. It's just not. If you have a script, it's not a sport. Like, I can't get behind it. So I have no wrestling figure at all. None of them. But I need 2 of them. What 2 should I buy? I have no idea. What are the 2 best? I would actually need that information from somebody else that collects the figures and likes wrestling and would say, the likeness on this is absolutely fantastic. It works this way. He probably has some of the best joints. This is the one you should test. And this is the girl you should buy, her likeness, yada, yada. And then I could compare what people mostly feel are 2 of the best representations of these figures. And then I could get an idea. That would be good for me. But I think as a 42-year-old man, I'm too far into my ways to watch wrestling now to have anything to do with it, really. So I don't have anything. So I don't have any real thoughts on the Mattel figures for wrestling other than I need 2 of them. Maybe I could go to the Overstock and maybe it doesn't matter that much and I could just buy 2 of them that are sitting on the racks from the Overstock. I could do that, but I don't know. I don't know how that would play out. But that's where my mind goes when I think about that. Like, it's very hard for me to get past my past and how I felt about wrestling, and still kind of do sometimes. Let's see. If I could find her arm, I will. Second question would be, which figure represents your actual inner self? I would say there's a combination with probably Green Lantern and Spider-Man. Uh, almost my entire life since I became a teenager, really, has been responsibility. Like responsibility, self-pride. I know that sounds wild, but one of my lowest points ever, and I still was not. I'm the kind of person that doesn't ask for help until I truly need it. I don't ask for a ride home if I could find a way home. I don't ask for money if just being hungry for the night is what I'm going to have to suffer. I don't I don't bug anybody for anything until I need to. And I can go pretty far before I have to do that. I take care of my kid. I take care of my surroundings. I take care of the people around me. When it's time for me to buckle down and do something, it gets done. I'm the person you call when you need to move or you need help or you need to fix something. I'm that person, and I will find a way to help. If one of my kids asks for something, it doesn't matter how it's going to make my life more difficult. I tell all my kids, I'm not going to let this situation play out. Say something to me. I will find a way to make it happen. I will find a way to help you. You want to do this, you want to do that, you need help with this, you need help with that. I'll find out how to make that happen. I've always been that person for as long as I can honestly remember. So those two characters sit as a foundation of my life where, and I know I bring this up a lot, but I think it's important, Conan represents the side of my life that I never got to have. The grass is greener type of thing, that kind of situation. Conan lives. He just lives. He just lives life. He wanders, he experiences, he eats, he drinks, he fights, he moves forward, and the world throws at him, and he understands that every day could be his last, and so he takes it in. He enjoys the world around him. That's a thing that I think is misunderstood about Conan the Barbarian. He's not this dumb, lumbering, stupid thing. He has responsibilities and whatnot that fall on him later when he becomes a king, but Conan lives. He takes life as it comes. He experiences it. He finds the parts in those moments that are worth living, and he lives it. Whether he's a pirate, a thief, a well-made, a mercenary, it doesn't matter. Right now, life is happening, and he's going to be part of that life. He just lives it. He goes for it. He enjoys it. When the fire is hot and it's rising and the people are dancing and Conan feels that spirit, he dances. He jumps up, he screams with a barbarian cry, and he dances with everybody there. Wouldn't you like to do that? Sometimes I get held back by my own problems, my own self-image, and everybody's dancing. And this is a real idea. And I don't. I got to maintain a certain composure, right? I don't. But wouldn't you like to? Figures, like I've said, this is a museum. Everything has a story, a reason, a purpose, an idea, a memory, or a background into my own personality. There's a reason for all of it and why I appreciate it the way that I do. And that's a big part of it. My life has mostly been responsibility all the time. It is what it is. And I look around at people that don't have this, and sometimes I do miss it. I'm the one that did the editing. I'm the one that kept the show running. I'm the one that planned things in the background for things like Fandom Night. I'm the one that a normal day used to be getting together at 7 a.m. and then we would eat at Hardee's, and I would have a good time there, and then we would film, and we'd run through all our stuff, and we'd write whatever we needed to write, or we'd film, or we'd do the show, and we did like 9 shows, and then after we got past all the shows, maybe we'd go eat something, then we'd come back. All my friends, and this is true, would go off to do things. They'd go play games, or hang out with each other, or talk, or play pool, or whatever they were going to do. I edited. I would sit for hours, edit, and finish the product of what we did that day so that it could be posted, so that I could move it. And then I would rejoin them maybe sometime around like nearly 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And we would watch the final product and I'd be like, I got it. This is what we filmed today or whatever. And then we'd watch that and we'd all be like, yeah, it's good. Let's post it or whatever. But I was the one that did that. That's been me my whole life. Always. When I'm at work and they say, hey, Bill, we got to do this, maybe I'll complain about it, but I go and do it. I do it. That's what I'm there to do. I'm there to work. They say do a thing. I go do a thing. Even if I'm like, there's no reason that I should be doing this thing. It causes all of these problems. But yet they said to do it. That's what I'm getting paid for. That's what I go do. And oftentimes I have the willpower to push through whatever situation I'm in. So that's the best answer I have. There are probably 3 figures that represent the main sides of my personality, and that really is Spider-Man, Green Lantern, Conan. Those are 3 major points of my personality, all in figure form, if I had to break myself down. By the way, Bill, according to Alex Chin, we are getting God of War 3, Hercules, and Poseidon. That's cool. That's pretty cool. I'm hoping that means that we'll kind of go back and also get a Kratos, you know what I mean? Like from that era as well, because that's the one that I would want. You can still get hurt during wrestling. You absolutely can. Boxing is real unless your manager is... Man, shots fired. I get it though. I 100% get. I get where you're coming from with that. DC time. Let's hit this up real quick. There's a couple of DC figures. Let's do that. Okay, I have that. Is that everything over there? No, I forgot about him. Okay. Let's do that. Let's do these. I'm going to figure out where I was. Let's see. The only ones who you could even say are actual fighters would be Kurt Angle, fair, and Mark Henry, fair, actual athletes and competitors of note who have won things outside of wrestling. Fair. And look, when you're already in that kind of physical shape and that kind of conditioning and you've done that, you have that kind of discipline to achieve what you need to achieve to even work in the wrestling ring, you can become a fighter, but it is going to take a different set of skills in general. DDP, a wrestler, helped Butterbean, a boxer, get up and walk again, which is fantastic. It is. Oh yeah, and Ken Shamrock. Big BJJ background and was part of the beginnings of the UFC with the Gracies. Yes, Bill. It is Bill chair square of the back and to the head. They try to take it right. They're as dumb as the statement would be to use from my childhood. They are trained to take that. But the guy that said that did not mean it that way. You are trained to take that thing and sell it so that it looks like a hard hit. So then the guy that's supposed to throw the chair or hit with the chair, he's doing it a very specific way. And the guy that takes the hit has to take it in a very specific way. So they minimize the possibility of how much damage that real interaction is going to cause. But the fool that I hung out with when I was growing up that would say they are trained to take that thought that these men were just such hardcore men that they trained to take baseball bats and crowbars and chairs because they were just tough men. That is not the same argument. Okay, if I send you an Ultimate Edition or two, which one would you want? I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'd have to look through, really. Talk to Britt or Scotty then. They'll tell you about the figures, although I think Britt is an inbox only, which wouldn't help because he wouldn't know. He'd know the looks, but he wouldn't know the ins and outs of how the figures function once put through paces. A generally good female figure would be the recent China that came out. A good crossover figure would be the Ultimate Rey Mysterio. He is an homage to an early hero called the Phantom. I know him. I know Rey Mysterio, and I know China. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I know who she is. I'm almost 100% sure. Like I said, my wrestling knowledge only goes as far as it goes, but I'm pretty sure I know both of those people. I definitely know Rey. I remember watching some of his stuff and being very impressed with some of the stuff that he could do. China, I'm almost 100% I know. I'm almost 100% sure I know who that is. What figure describes you? One of the turtles, maybe Kingpin, Kilowog, possibly. Let me see. Who else is bald? Professor X Future Chair. Woo! Do the Future Chair thing. Oh my gosh. I think I saw a leak list. We will be getting OG Young Kratos and Zeus. Now, I would be into that because I think that we need that. Man, the side of my nose is itching like crazy. It's driving me nuts. Yeah, we definitely need that. I think that would be fantastic because I saw the other one and I was like, he's fine, but that does nothing for me. Like if I want Kratos, he's gonna have to be from part 1, part 2, part 3, somewhere in that era. Because, like, that's where I was playing the games. I played the first 3 games, and then I played the 2 on the PSP, and then they pretty much lost me at that point. I just started getting tired of the same thing over and over again. But then again, what else were you going to do with that series that's built to do what that series is built to do? So, not mad at it, but I did feel a certain way about it. We are currently tied with Bane and Poison Ivy, which is interesting. Realistically, it is kind of funny. It is interesting that those 2 characters specifically are the ones that are tied because Bane and Poison Ivy were together in a fantastic cinematic experience. Let's say that they were inseparable cinematic masterpiece. The Golden Pyramid is Bill's inner self. I don't know. Paramitis? I'm fine with that. Oh, nope, that's not. There we go. Okay, this will take us down to 3 DC figures. So let's start here. Poison Ivy. I've been waiting for this figure for a while. I wanted a Poison Ivy. I knew that. There was certain characters that I do want on the shelf, Batman villain-wise. I want a more classic Penguin. With the black suit, though. I like the black suit. I know that he wore the blue and things like that, but I like that black suit. I think that's what I want. And I know they've got one of those. I like that he's kind of like rotund and everything. He's just different. I like his long... It's perfect. That's the one that I want. I want a Two-Face. But I don't want the comic Two-Face. I want the black and white Two-Face. For me, ever since I saw that look, that's where my mind goes all the time now. That's Two-Face for me. I wanted a Catwoman. I got a Catwoman on the shelf. I want a Harley Quinn. What one do I want? Hard to say. I do want the classic. Do I want others? Hard to say. I would have to see them. I don't want Margot Robbie. That I like her, but and I actually do like her. I think I think one could argue she is a fantastic actress. And I'm being very serious about that. I don't think I've seen her in anything that I haven't liked her, even if I don't necessarily like the thing that I'm watching. So I got to hand it to her. When you can do that, when you could be the standout thing in something bad, well, then you're doing it right. So I respect that 100%. I'm on board with that. Does that mean that I want a Margot Robbie on the shelf? No. No, not really. No. No. Classic is about the only thing. Well, I would like, if he would have done it, he didn't do it, but it would have been cool to get the Arkham Asylum Harley. I think that look is really crazy cool. I really do. When I saw her design in the Arkham games, I was like, oh, dude, that is, it hits this, how do I put this? Because this is important. It hits an area in the middle between a sexy outfit, because it is, while at the same time, the implications of that outfit are horrifying because of where she is and the parts of that outfit that she probably put together through whatever horrific circumstance. Yeah, that's wild to me. And she is dangerous because of the kind of person that she is. That costume sells. I think it works. Later on, when you go further into the Arkham series, and she basically just gets kind of like a goth look, it's fine, but it doesn't have the same personality, and it doesn't hit. And I would it be cool? I guess, but I don't care. That first look though, that is really, really good. So as I go through and I find villains that I want, I knew that I wanted Poison Ivy. But how did I want Poison Ivy? What one really catches my attention? Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, it's going to sound a certain way, okay? It's going to sound a certain way, but I'm sorry, it's the truth. If you ask me what her best design was, it's where she's inhuman, but very human. What am I talking about? There have been designs for Poison Ivy over the years where she is basically just nude. She's green skinned, she's nude, she has the leaves that come up that cover just enough so you can get away with it in comic books. That's actually my favorite version of her because it separates her from the regularness of humanity. She has the green skin. That's not normal. Her morality is basically gone. She's not worried about covering herself up because she doesn't even see herself as a person. Yes, there's a naked lady involved. And yes, that says something in general, and it probably plays to a certain aspect. But you'll come to find out about me with designs. You can cheesecake all day, and while I'm not going to hate it, it's not going to sell anything story-wise for me, and it's not going to make me enjoy your character. It's just going to look a certain way. But in her case, if you look at everything else that surrounds her, that look says something about her. And it really does, because nobody else is like that. That is wild, because it really does separate her from humanity in terms of the rest of the people that are also supposed to be crazy people that are surround her on a daily basis. Everything from the heroes to the regular people to the people in the asylum, and yet she chooses to look a certain way because none of this matters to her, which is also very dangerous when you think about when she tries to, like, kill off life or whatever to save the environment, to build the green. She really doesn't care about us. That part of herself is buried and gone. That look sells that concept. Now I realize that she's went through major changes over the years. Major changes. Some of her costumes have been fantastic, some not so much. I'm not going to make a reference. I'm just saying in general, she, just like so many other characters, have gone through changes. Some of them I very much liked, some of them not so much. Some of her personalities over the years have been kind of wildly different from what I was just talking about, where she's literally a genocidal, almost creature at this point in human form that is willing to wipe out all life to build up the environment. That's a certain kind of aspect, that's a certain kind of personality, to where later they kind of mellowed that out, even to the point where they brought her into like some good guy teams and whatnot, because comic books likes to do this. It likes to kind of be like, hey, remember all the horrible things that this person did? Don't remember that. They're a good guy now. That didn't work with Vader. It has a hard sell when it comes to a good portion of villains that become heroes. If you're atoning, I get it. I'm not going to make that argument, but you get the idea. That's kind of a hard sell for me sometimes. And as they have changed up her personality over the years, she softened quite a bit. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It happens in comic books, and there is something to be said for people being redeemed or fixed. It's kind of important, but then she's also one of those characters that seems to get quote-unquote redeemed and start moving in a certain direction, only to then immediately be put right back in the bad guy circle because, like, she's such a fantastic villain that you don't want to lose that. But she's also such a cool character that they want to push her into the hero spot because they want to do more with her. But how are you going to try to make both those things happen? And it often happens with some sort of cliche reset to her character that, like, trips her off or makes her feel a certain way, or she was playing. I don't like that stuff. I like character development. If you're willing to develop said character and then go with it and then stick to your guns, fine. I'm 100% behind you. I like Superior Spider-Man. I like when he is cloned Peter Parker and himself into a new body and is moving forward and is becoming his own person in a new standard with a new kind of villain aspect or new kind of good guy aspect. He becomes a hero over time through experiences that develop him as he figures out the kind of man he used to be. And then they cliche hard reset that so they could get Octopus back. I'll be honest with you. I like Octopus. He's a very cool villain. He always has been. If he would have never come back, I wouldn't have missed him at all. At all. I liked the character development that put us where we were. And to reset that back to the status quo, I find that to be poor writing, for one. And I find it to be disrespectful to all the people that have stuck with you over the years to read your content, your story, only to have it revert so harshly back to, hey, we need this bad guy back. That bad guy never comes back. I don't care. If it was done right and we move forward and we develop something new and we got something new out of it, I'm willing to stick with the new. I don't need that old crap back. I don't need it. Now, this look is one of her better designs. Absolutely. It really is. However, looking at this, I could see what they were going for. I don't think they hit the face here. If we're looking at this as the artwork that's supposed to represent it, which this is nothing new for McFarlane, the artwork is almost never on point to what we actually get figure-wise, and we realize that basically everything he puts out is an amalgamation. So you kind of let certain things go. Okay? I don't think they hit perfect with the face here. I don't think they hit right with the feet. I don't think they hit right 100% with the body dimensions. This art is wrong, but to to get an idea from it, this art is the nylon look. So this is correct. The nylon look works. However, on a personal note, I like the chase more than I like this. The exposed legs look is better than this look. Not by much, but I honestly do believe that. The exposed skin look is better on the variant, and the fact that they really green her skin out, I prefer that. But this does have an animated series kind of kickback, which really works because a lot of us grew up with the animated series, and a lot of those character designs for us are really stuck in our heads. That's how we view a lot of these characters. So even though I couldn't find the chase, or I haven't found it yet, we'll see. We'll see. You never know. Some of these stores are surprising me. I have a Walmart that often gets the chases, and I have a GameStop that often picks up the chases. We'll see. You never know. If I could get the chase, I prefer it. This, I'm not going to cry. I think this is solid. I will say I'm seeing one thing that's a minor problem, and we will talk about it when we open it. But I may see something here that's not ideal, but I think I can ignore it. We'll see. We'll see. Let's open it. All right. So, Hockey Puck. Did I need a flight stand this time? No. But to bring my point up, because I'm going to do it until the end of the line, should have been a flight stand. Why? Because the flight stand comes with a puck anyway, and that would have been perfect. And then if you wanted to do something like actually go out to, say, the Dollar Tree, because this is a very easy thing you could have done, you could have went to the Dollar Tree and bought some fake vines and fake plants, and then built them around the stand, and then had her sitting up on the vines. That would have been sick. Flight stand. I don't care. We're going to make that joke until the end of his line. I honestly believe that it would have been really cool as an effect in general. I like this. This is so simple, but this is a really cool little extra thing. You could put it on the leg, you could put it on her arms, whatever you want to do with it, or you can connect this to other characters. Like you can wrap this around your Superman and do the whole storyline, the Hush storyline thing where she takes control of Superman for a little while. That's pretty cool. I actually think that's really neat. She has a weird hand. This is not a trigger finger hand. I know that it kind of looks like that, and maybe it was meant to be, but mine is closed. So if that's what this was meant to be, mine is not. Mine has what looks like a trigger finger hand, but then that part is actually closed and sealed. So you can't put anything in this hand, and then like the pinky is slightly extended. Whatever this is, it's a weird hand. This? What is this? What hand gesture is like it's this? Is it this? Is it your somebody's chin? What is this hand? I don't know. And then she has an expression hand, which makes sense to me. That's just an open hand. You could do a million things with it. And then, of course, she has a gripping hand. McFarlane. McFarlane. We got to talk. We got to talk for a second, McFarlane. Put your shoes on. We got to talk. This is not a trigger hand. This is a grip hand for gripping, for holding a thing, a cup, a bow staff, whatever. Grip hand. What? How did you craft a grip hand for Poison Ivy? One that you had to go out of your way. One you can't even reuse because it actually has this on. You gave her a grip hand. Not one, two of them. You crafted grip hands for a Poison Ivy figure. And not even this one. This is probably reuse from the Uma Thurman, and that's fine. I'm not making that argument. You created grip hands for this character. And yet, the entire line, you have given Batman trigger finger hands. Batman should not come with trigger finger hands. Okay? Just by character alone, no. That should not be all right, but you've been doing it. You gave Wonder Woman trigger finger hands, not grip hands. Not to be able to grip the lasso, not to hold something. Trigger finger hands for a gun that she will not be using. Because she came with a sword and an axe and a shield and a lasso. None of these things require this bang bang finger. What is happening? Like, you couldn't craft just two grip hands, two for the men, two for the women, and then handed them out where they made sense across the line. Instead, you stuck with trigger finger hands for the entire run of your entire line, only to come up at the very end and craft grip hands for a character that you could only do it once. You can't even reuse these because of the leaves. That Poison Ivy got the go-ahead for grip hands, but not a single cliche regular in the entirety of the line got the okay for the grip hands? What is happening? I just don't understand it. McFarlane, you confuse me, man. And by the way, I almost 100% sure this is an Uma Thurman hand right here because it's got that little leaf. And I'm pretty sure that little leaf is supposed to be the whole, she does this thing and she blows the whatever it is. I can't remember what it's called. They gave it a name. But yeah, whatever. So we've made fun of it. Let's look at it. This is her. I think that the face is standout. It is not the best face in the line, but I think it works. I think it works for her. Maybe we could have went with a little more expression, but then again, as I was talking before, I like that detached, not human thing that they do with her sometimes, where she really has become more plant than person, and her ties to humanity are kind of broken. I like that. So there's something to be said for this face that like doesn't quite care. But it would have been cool to have two different heads where one of the faces was a little more expressive, maybe one face a little more, because this seems like runway model face. It seems like very much that detached runway model face where she's just supposed to be really selling the clothes, and so she looks a certain way, and we just kind of leave that alone. Where another one would have been like a nice expression that would have been kind of cool. Another thing, which is minor, which comes back to the artwork. The artwork, she's wearing boots. These are boots, okay? So she has the nylons that come down that are laced with the leaves that then go into a boot created from the leaves. He opted for these heel feet. It's not that I don't like the heels on Poison Ivy. The heels, oftentimes on a lot of the girls, they add a little bit of that personality, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't need heels on every character. Like Power Girl, I'm 100% on board with her having boots. I think that works, and it's a better statement for somebody like Power Girl, who she's about this, right? That's not a person who gives a crap in the certain way and is wearing like the high heels and things like that. That kind of determines your personality. However, for somebody like her, that when she does grow herself an outfit, because that's kind of what this is, she grows an outfit like literally out of nature or out of her own body. I'm not 100% sure how that works, depending on what comic book you're reading or what show you're watching, but you get the idea. She grows an outfit. If we're going to say she does that, maybe there is something, some vanity left, some runway model vanity left in her person, or something tied back to her previous humanity where maybe she wore heels on the regular at the job that she used to do, which would have been questionable because of what she did do and how often she would have been in the field, and she definitely wasn't walking around in the field with. Regardless, she's in the office a lot, she wears high heels, that's something left over from her humanity when she grew an outfit. That kind of works, but I think I would have honestly preferred the flat boots in this case, because this is kind of the artwork that they gave us to go off of, and I kind of like that. If not, the leaves that go down and cover, and still kind of it's noticeable that it's somewhat of a bare foot, that also would have been very inhuman and also would have been kind of neat. So I would have liked either one of those aspects. That's fine. The hair, I'm going to give it to McFarlane this time for a second. It is not in the way. It moves out of the way. It moves. That is good, because female hair can sometimes be in the way, especially on some McFarlane figures. So I'm going to give it to him there. That's good. Did a good job with the hair. However, am I the only person picking up on this? I'm asking a real question here. This is a real question, okay? So get ready. Am I imagining this? Maybe I am, because now I'm looking at her like this. Could she use a little more neck? Am like, I don't know. Because from right there, it seems natural. It seems fine. From right there, it seems kind of natural and fine. Is it the way her chin? Does she have like a really pointy chin that comes down? Because she has a razor face. Like, she has one of those hard cut faces. She has those strong cheekbones that actually come out, and she goes down into that hard chin. She has a razor cut face. And I'm not saying anything bad about that. Some people actually have that, okay? Some people have that heart face and whatnot. It's very different for different people. She has that razor face. Maybe it's kind of playing off the neck and messing me up. Hard to say. But I would be interested to know if anybody else is kind of having that weird feeling as well, that it almost feels like she could use a little more neck. Like that ball joint could have raised her head just the littlest bit higher. Something feels like that to me. And maybe is this because this body was reused from Uma Thurman? Should we have redone the chest a little bit? Not from a pervert standard. I'm not talking about cheesecaking her. I don't want that. I don't think she's that kind of character. One could argue that because she is a seductress, she needs certain assets, but should her chest have been a little bit bigger? But then if you're going to base her on Uma Thurman, this is probably accurate. And I think they reused that body. So if they're reusing the body to save some money, I understand why it happened, but I almost feel like they should have redone the top a little bit. I feel like in the comics, at least, and even in the shows, I think she has a little more chest than that. Does it matter? No. But since we're pointing out everything and anything that we can get on a first interaction with the figure, I figured I would bring it up. I think they could have done that a little differently. Like I said before, I personally think that I like the Chase variant more than this. I like the exposed skin with the green. I think that works, but the nylons don't bother me. So far, I think she's solid. It's a face that I had to get used to a little bit, but it's grown on me very quickly. Like, very quickly. I understand what they were going for with this, and I think that it works. Like I said, it would have been neat to have another head that would have kind of shown us maybe a different expression with the same kind of facial features, and it would have allowed us to really play into the aspect, maybe a really mad face or something like that, you know, because she does tend to get that sometimes where she like kind of loses it. One problem. Nope, never mind. Perfect. I was about to say, I think these arms are solid because I hadn't moved it yet, but no, she still has the bicep swivel. I don't like when we lose the bicep swivel, but I do like that the bicep swivel is hidden on her because of these long glove things. Do we lose that in the Chase? I don't know. Maybe there's still vines there, so it doesn't really hit the same. I'm not 100% sure, because really, it's just going to be a repaint, isn't it? And is it only her legs that get exposed on the variant? I don't remember. But I know I like the exposed legs a little bit more. But that doesn't hurt this one necessarily. The ankles are different. Like they go back and forth and up and down. Instead of, it's not on like the ball joint like we're so very used to with McFarlane. And was this also trying something new this late in the line? And I realize this is a major reuse from the Uma Thurman body, but I'm just saying, like, did we do that with Uma, like testing a new setup for the ankles, and then for some reason immediately walk away from it and not do it with the rest of the line, or what did we do here? Anyways, I'm honestly happy to put Poison Ivy on the shelf. If I never find the variant, that's fine. I think this one will do very, very well for what I need it to do, which is be Poison Ivy on the shelf. I mean, that's not that overly complicated. But yeah, for what it's worth, I think she's solid. Minor things that I can complain about, things I could bring up, but I think she works. And I do appreciate when figures feel different. And what do I mean by that? This body is not the same as this body. I appreciate that. I honestly do. I don't really like it. Not that I'm going to complain about it, but like in a Motu line, everything is reuse. Every girl is on like the same body. They all stand the same height, have about the exact same build, things like that. That does kind of bother me sometimes because nobody necessarily stands out. They do a good job with it here and there to really make things look and feel different, but it does become kind of samey as you go on, especially when you start moving across like Evelyn's and Tila's, and they both have the exact same body with just different paint schemes every single time. That gets a little old. And one could argue that one should be more muscular while the other should be a little thin, and like that kind of thing. But like, you got to hand it to McFarlane. Look, we're at the end of the line, and I know that there's some people out there that just can't wait for him to go away, but there are things that he was doing that are admirable. This does not feel like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman does not feel like Power Girl. Power Girl does not feel like Jessica Cruz. That's impressive. Because you could have just made a blank body, not necessarily for this character, but you could have made a blank body and just overused the crap out of it, like how 80% of the Marvel line is. You got to give him credit where we can, or where we should. Let's see some stuff before I go back in. Hey, what's going on, man? Two-Face did have a whole arc. He was fully reformed for a bit, yes, but then he tried to stop a bank robbery, and then the bank exploded and messed up the other side of his face, so he turned back. Yes, which that does kind of go into exactly what I was talking about. There's always some kind of cliche event, some crazy design thing that happens where they revert them back to the status quo. And I do actually get tired of the status quo sometimes. Like, it would have been neat to just keep him the way he was, or maybe if you really wanted to play that up, don't fix him. Make him try his hardest to be okay and constantly give clues that he's not. And at the end, maybe he even self-mutilates. But to have the universe basically create a cliche circumstance that just reverts him right back to what he was because bank explode, like, sometimes comic books irritate me. Because we put so much time and effort into the design and the development of characters, only to revert them right back to their starting point about every 5 years. Characters in comics are evergreen. They're not allowed to change. They're not allowed to evolve. They're not allowed to grow up. And it does get samey and old. That man Bane was born in an elbow. What? Let's see. According to leaks, McFarlane will be doing Marvel action figures, but they'll be sparse and few and far between. Yeah, I'm seeing something that says, like, did he get the Marvel Select license? Is he going to take over Marvel Select? Say months or so. Some will be based on stuff he's drawn, so that will be interesting. Now, I will say this. That would be cool. But if we get like a Spider-Man on like a McFarlane body, not this, of course, but will that work? I think the Marvel figures are going to be ran through their paces, if that's true. It'll be interesting to see what he does if all this rumor turns out to be 100%. But people, when he releases a Spider-Man, if a Spider-Man doesn't move the way that people want it to move, oh, they're gonna ream him. But then sometimes he's good about really digging in and giving us stuff that, like, just looks I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Personally, I don't hate the McFarlane line. I know some people think it's too far behind. They don't like things like pins and stuff like that. But, like, look, man, toys are toys. Pins don't bother me that much. So we'll see. Yeah, like he says, like, more statues, but no, yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. I'm hearing these are going to be figures, like Marvel figures. Hey, Bill, it's interesting you brought up Poison Ivy changing over the years, since she recently became the mayor of Gotham City in current comics. Really? How What series of events takes place that, like, I'm not asking you to tell me, but it's interesting. Like, what series of events have to take place to have the community vote for you after you have done what you have done? Because there's probably a top 10 list of, like, horrible things that Poison Ivy has done. And how do you just... Comic book universes are weird, man. There's good guys and bad guys. And when you're a good guy, you're just like a good guy. And it's fine, you're just a good guy. And when you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy. But, like, you can always become a good guy and then everything will be okay. But then you can be a good guy for a while, then become a bad guy again. And then after you're a bad guy for a while, you can just become a good guy and, like, all is forgiven. Like, comic book universes are wild sometimes. From the front, it does look like she needs a little more neck, but it looks good at the angles. So I am kind of seeing... Interesting. Very weird that Mattel is going to wait to show off the DC Collector line till the end of the year. I don't know if it's just aren't ready to show or what, but I was hoping to see them at SDCC. I was very much expecting that's what was going to happen. Like, but it didn't. Yeah, it's really contrived, and it was nice to see him being an ally with Bruce and Gordon again. Right, but exactly. You got to revert. You got to go back to that status quo, man. That's where the money is. I believe they are really just waiting for the clock to run out on McFarlane license agreement, and then the whole... Yeah, I think so too. I just don't think I don't think they want any form of competition, regardless of it good, bad. I think they just want to be the only game in town, eyes on us. I think that's what they're looking for. When Bill leaned back in his chair, I thought he was going to say, "To me, my X-Men." I mean, Superboy Prime is the current Superman right now, so I suppose space is warped and time is bendable. What? See, we said it. I left single issues behind. Comic books have a tendency to do what you're talking about right there, and, like, I'm sure that if I was reading it, I would be like, oh, okay, I see how we got to this point. But, like, part of me goes, what? Like, this dude, Superboy Prime. Like, wow. Like, am I the only one remembering how he showed up? Is that... Or did we, like, delete that because we've done so many retcons and everything over the years that now that didn't happen? Or, like, okay. You get what I mean? Like, comic books, man. Comic books. Oh, what am I doing? Bane. All right, guys. This right here, this is right. Bane, for me, should be this. He should be a big dude. A big dude, a dangerous man, a mercenary. He should be very clever. When he showed up in the comic books, he was a guy, a man. I know that everybody likes that comic book cover where it shows him breaking the bat. He is not that big, or at least he didn't used to be. He was a big dude, but a dude nonetheless. And as a big dude, he was dangerous because he was also very smart. He knew what he was doing. He understood how to play the Batman. He knew how to wear him down and how to create the situations that would allow him to catch the Batman at his worst and defeat him. He knows how to play the game. He's a strategist. He's dangerous. He's big. He's a highly world-renowned mercenary, and he should be what he should be. I also like the idea of his backstory where he's born into the prison and yada yada and things like that, and he's basically developed into the guy that he is by living through the tragedy that he lived through. That which does not kill us makes us stronger is very much the absolute for this guy right here. But now, every Bane that comes out, every Bane that we see comic book wise mostly, every time we see a TV series or whatever, like he's just this big, overbearing, ridiculous brute stuck on Venom. I have never been okay with the direction that took. When I see him in the Arkham games, that does not thrill me. I'm not impressed by it. I don't go, that's my Bane for sure, man. I like it when he's as large as the Incredible Hulk. I don't. Now, if you want to tell me he reverts to Venom to handle certain situations or whatever, that's fine. And then you talk about its addictive personality, its addiction qualities and things like that. And yeah, I guess that all sells into the storyline and the development over time that might make him that person. But like in my mind's eye, that's not Bane. It's a shell of his former self at best. At best. I don't care for that character. I don't care for that design. I like him when he's a little more down to earth. This works for me. When I seen him in this movie, I was like, okay, all right, I kind of see what we're going for. This mask thing is wild, but I like him. I like how big he is. I like the way he thinks. I like the way he's calm and collected. I don't like that they make him an underling at the very end. Like, he has run the show for the entirety, only to figure out that he was basically just an underling the whole time. That I don't love. I'm not huge into that aspect. Didn't love that. That reveal, if you will, didn't thrill me. Do I claim to have seen it coming? The first time I watched the movie, I was too interested in Bane. So I wasn't paying enough attention. And they revealed things like, oh, well, the mercenary's son, or yada, yada. Or sorry, yeah. And so I'm watching, and I'm like, wait. Are we really doing this? And my mind was going, did they change Talia? Is Bane now? Because I don't necessarily like that. And then they reveal Talia at the end, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it was weird, because it took me by surprise a little bit, but it was more like a relieved surprise. Like, okay, I see where they're going with this. I get how this just played out. Fantastic. That works for me. But I didn't like that it undermined everything that we just accomplished with Bane as the main bad guy. And then there's something about overcoming adversaries, overcoming obstacles. You want Batman or Batman and a partner, a Robin or something like that, to overcome an adversary. To build Bane up, to show that he's dangerous, to have him be dangerous through the whole movie. And this is probably the most realistic part of the whole movie. They just shoot him. I mean, look, when it comes to comic books, shows, there's always that thing that's in the back of your mind, like you're watching and you're going, why doesn't somebody just shoot him? Well, they do. So I'm gonna give that to him. I like that. I get a kick out of that. But I did want Batman to win. And you could say, oh well, he did win because he was winning before he got stabbed. I guess. But it also would have been really cool to have Catwoman come in and have him fight the both of them until he got beat and have a cool fight scene there. I think that would have been a little more comic book climactic than he just gets shot. But there is something very real and funny about, oh, look at that. There's Bane. He's dangerous. He's winning. I can't beat him. Bang. Like, okay. Look, I gotta give it to it. I just did something about it that works. Now I will say this. I like The Dark Knight Rises. And I've noticed that in subsequent viewings over time, I found myself liking it more and more. In fact, over subsequent viewings, I now see The Dark Knight as the best one, The Dark Knight Rises as the second best one, and Begins actually feels like the weakest one. There's things I really like about all of them, but if I have to put them in order in like rewatching movies, I've noticed that as I've rewatched the movies, the first one, and maybe it's because it's an origin story, it feels like it drags on me a little bit, and there's nothing left to surprise me. Like, I know that's Ra's al Ghul. I know how the situation plays out. I think this is what, storyline-wise, the first movie is fantastic. Fight-wise, it's trash. It is the worst fight movie of all three of them. It's trash. Like, you see him when he's down at the docks and he's taking care of the guys, and there's some Batman stuff happening. It's really cool. Then he jumps down into the middle of like 15 guys. I probably exaggerate that number, but you get the idea. And he fights all of them. I can't even tell what's going on. I can't. And then, like, the camera angles are super close, and, like, the movement's really bad, and, like, I don't know what's happening, and I can't really follow it. I know people are getting hit, I guess, maybe. Nobody's shooting. Like, what is happening in that scene? Compare that to the Ben Affleck fight scene in Batman v Superman, and you'll get what I'm talking about. In that, there's, like, 10 guys. They have guns. They are shooting. And he has to do things to avoid getting shot or divert bullets or stop knives or whatever he's doing. And we get to see him do it in real time with a camera angle that's pulled back enough for us to see the spectacle and go, whoa, this Batman is sick. And then in Batman Begins, he fights like 12, 15 guys on the docks. And I can't even tell what's happening. And that's not the only time it does that. It loves these close-up, confusing fight angles that, like, nobody can follow. I do not like that. And it has sullied my enjoyment of the first movie over time. Because, like, Falcone comes around the corner and sees this happening. And he's like, oh no, right? And he runs back to his car and gets his gun or whatever, and he's like, oh, who are you? And then, of course, the Batman just punches through the roof and, like, pulls him up, and he's like, I'm Batman. But, like, first off, the I'm Batman line doesn't hit right with me. I don't know why. It just doesn't sound... And we could make fun of Christian Bale's voice thing all we want, but it's not the same thing, okay? It's not what I'm talking about. But when you pull him up and you're like, I'm Batman. Like, that, what is that? The way he delivers that, first off, is trash, okay? It's trash. I don't care. If that blew your mind, if that was your moment to be like, oh man, he is Batman, I don't know how. All right, we're all going to see things different. Art is subjective. We get hit by different things. Power moments are different for all of us. But for me, that did not land. The I'm Batman did not work in that moment. And if I am to believe that Falcone saw what was going down and was like, oh crap, I'm a scared. I'm going to go get my gun or get out of here or whatever. I don't get to see Batman fight those guys in a way that makes sense to me, that my mind can process. And then I also don't get to see that he finished those guys and like went after Falcone. They leave it up to this like surprise moment where like Falcone goes back in the car, which why would you do that? Falcone's an idiot. Like, what what were you hoping to accomplish? If you had a driver and you got in the car, shouldn't you have told the driver to go? And if you had to go back in the car to get your gun, open the car, get your gun, and leave. Like, why would you stay at the docks? You've been doing this for a long time. You pretty much own Gotham. You've never been challenged in a way that makes it so that you need to get out and regroup and come back hard and do the war or whatever. Like, you're an idiot. You got in the car, trapped yourself in an enclosed area, and waited to be taken. What did you think? That you would see the Batman coming and that you could fire out the windows? Like, what was the thought here? And then they're like, oh yeah, here's the birth of the bat symbol. The bat signal. Every time I see that scene, people are like, oh man, that's the bat signal. And my mind, I know I'm not supposed to, but I can't help it. My mind keeps going, I'll bet that burns. He's laying on a spotlight. Can you imagine the lumens? Can you imagine how hard that is burning the crap out of his arms and his back and his neck and the back of his head? And I don't care that he's wearing a coat. I'm telling you, have you ever reached up, not thought about it, and grabbed a light bulb and started to unscrew it without considering how hot it would be? That's a spotlight. And you're laying on it. And he's not making any kind of, like, he's not trying to get off the light. He's just like knocked out, just like cooking, literally cooking. Those lights have to get hot, man. A stage light gets hot. Can you imagine laying on a spotlight? Could you cook an egg on a spotlight? I'm being serious here. I wonder if you could, because the lumens off of that thing, that light has to get hot, right? My mind can't help but go there. It shouldn't matter. It's supposed to be a cool scene and I'm not supposed to think about it that hard, but I do. And because I think about all these little dumb things, my enjoyment of the first movie has over time gone just a little bit, 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 until finally we're at the point where we are now, where I actually think this is the second best movie. And I actually think The Dark Knight is the best movie. And strangely enough, the first movie, over the course of watching it over the years, I think it's the worst one. Not that it's bad. I still like to watch all three of them. I watch all three in a row, okay? I don't skip one. It's not like where you're watching a series of movies and maybe somebody goes, let's skip Star Trek 1 and we'll just start at 2 and then we'll go through Star Trek. I think that would be fun. Let's do that. I don't do that. I watch all three of them. I love all three of these movies, but like, man, I can't help it, man. Sometimes my brain thing won't let me just watch the movie. Sometimes it will. Sometimes it will not. Let's see Bane, shall we? All right, we got this thing and these things. And so that we can put this thing up somewhere, which I don't care about this thing literally in the least. And then we got this, which this is a wild picture, man. That is creepy. I kind of love that. Like, I really like this picture. This is wild. This would have been crazy to show up on like the back computer or something when we were first talking about him and be like, this guy right here. And you'd have been like, oh my God. Like, no wonder people are afraid of this dude. Like, that is horrifying. That would have been cool to me. But for what it's worth, oh yeah, he also comes with this hand, and look at that. It's not a trigger finger hand, believe it or not. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not. He doesn't come with any guns or anything, and he doesn't use guns really anyway. So you get it. And then he also comes with this hand and this. I think these are these so like he can hold on to his. Is that what that is? Because he does that a lot in the movie where he walks around and he holds this, or maybe that's what these are. Maybe that's these, so he can do that. Because this is like a thing that he does in the movie a lot, where he's walking and he holds that vest there. Dude. He's a McFarlane figure, okay? Like, what are we going to say? We're going to get what we're going to get out of him. He is a large dude. Is the face good? I don't think it's as good as the Heath Ledger face. But that being said, the mask is the biggest part of it, and I think we could have done better on the head sculpt. I'll say that. We could have done better on the head sculpt. I do think this one is not as good as some of the others that we have seen. I think we could have done better on the head sculpt. So that is my only real problem. Otherwise, I'm not seeing anything in terms of like movement or anything like that that's going to give me a problem. I think he'll work. And I think that really, once you're far enough away and you probably turn him, because like if you turn him like this, right? That like works. And I don't think you'll have a problem. So from the correct angle, I don't think you'll have a problem. But looking dead on, I don't know. I think the mask required more detail. Better paint, maybe. It's the head sculpt. It's the only thing really holding him back, because you don't need too much with this guy and what he is. He's a big dude. He wears these clothes. That's fine. Here's some hands. That's perfect. You could have kept these. I don't care about these. You could have kept these and this stand and these two stupid things. You could have kept those, and you could have put everything you had into that head sculpt, because the head sculpt is what has to work. And you're going to have to play around to make it what you want it to be. This is not as good as the Joker. I don't hate it, but I notice it. So it is something that's going to hold him back. If I, like at the end of the McFarlane line, when I go, what were the 10 best figures I was able to get from the McFarlane line? These are the ones that stand out to me. These are the best ones. If I was to make that list, he doesn't make the list head sculpt alone. But Heath could make the list because he's just done so well. Will he make the list? Would he beat out the other Jokers? I don't know. I don't know what that list will look like when and if I even do it. I'm just simply making a reference in general. Does that keep him off the shelf? No, I think he's fine. But I think there's room for improvement. They could have done better with this one. Otherwise, not much to say about him. Let's see. let's do... We'll do that. We'll do... this. We'll do that. And... no, that we're not going to do for the clutch. No. Oh, you know what? Sure, why not? Let's try that. I am so out of touch with comics these days. The more time that goes by, the more I feel the same way, man. Cal went on sabbatical or something due to events, but yeah, it's wild over in Metropolis right now. That was me when I saw the cover. Have to do the Bane voice. I don't know if I'm very good at it, in all honesty. Sure, let's try it. Let's cover my face up and try it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, because he got that. You have to have this because you have to have it muffled. But he goes, "Yes, the fire rises." He's got that thing going on with him. Apparently, he punched the Batman Who Laughs really, really hard, and now he is chill. However, it's really weird if you remember what he was capable of previously. Right? What? Everyone always forgets that Bane is supposed to be a Hispanic dude built like Brock Lesnar was in the 2000s and is only 3/4 as smart as the Bat. Now he's just the Hulk that you can't understand. Dude, it feels like that. Bane's always been one of my favorite Batman foes, like the Joker too, but Bane is on a whole different level for me. I think Begins is still the Bourne Identity era of fight scenes. Okay. Reddit. Why did Falcone go back into the car? Is he stupid? Right, man. Why would you do that? I saw that one as a kid, and even then, when the signal scene came up, I was like, oh, he is cooking up there, ain't he? Right. So I'm not the only one that did, because man, I'm telling you, dude, every time I see that movie, I'm like, ouch. Like, oh my God. That has to be dreadful, man. My couch is just burning up there. It's cooking alive. Cooking alive, man. Okay. Let's do this. Sandman. I did it perfect. You saw it flip perfectly, and I caught it, and there was nothing wrong with the flip at all. That was perfect. This is Sandman. Let's do this. Sandman. What am I going to tell you here? Was he my favorite villain? No, he's not. Do I have any kind of massive connection? No. No, I don't. Did I like him in the Sam Raimi movie? Yes. Yes, I did. I liked the idea of redesigning his concept so that he was like looking after a kid, and that kind of made him a little more human. and then the accident that creates him and makes him what he is. And then he doesn't just go off to petty crime for no real reason. He's trying to collect money to pay for his kid. But I find a problem with the third Spider-Man movie. No way. I know everybody is shocked because nobody's ever been able to find a problem with the third Spider-Man movie. It's so perfect that nobody's ever been able to point out anything that is even close to a problem with that movie. But I may have found one. We introduce a child at the start of the movie. We introduce Sandman at the start of a movie. And we make him a human character by giving him something to worry about. And the mom is like, look, we were trying desperately to make it here, like decent people, and you chose to do something stupid, and you may have even killed somebody. Get out. Now, we learn later that there's a lot of circumstance. Do I like that they added him to the death scene and kind of modified the Ben moment? Yes and no. There's things about it that I do like because it shows that there's, how do I put this? I like the idea of multiple sides of a story. By Peter's point of view, all of this played out a very, very singleized way. He saw one guy doing one bad thing that he didn't stop that cascaded into other bad things. But life is not that simple. There was another guy that was involved, and from Peter's point of view, never existed at all, who came up with the idea, more than likely. Hey, I know how we could get a lot of money. I need help to pull this off. If you help me, I'll split it with you, but I got to get money for my kid. And then they decide to do this deal, and they go in together. He goes in to actually make the apprehension while Flint secures a getaway vehicle. Flint is not about being a bad person, but he has to do what he has to do. And so when he takes Ben out of the car, Ben gets another chance to show us who he is. Ben sees it in his eyes. This guy isn't here to hurt him. This guy's desperate. Life has kicked him, and he's trying desperately to climb back up. And so he sees this as an older man, and he realizes what this younger man is doing. And the decision that he's about to make will change him irreparably. And Ben, being the kind of person Ben is, which expands on Ben and gives him even more to do, says, look, I don't know what's going on. I can see it. I know this isn't something that you want to do. It's something that you think you have to do. There are other ways to do this. And you're not so far in now that you can't turn around. Put your gun down. Walk away. And then, because Flint is the kind of guy who's not okay with this situation, he is nervous, and he is holding the gun, and he's not doing so in a way that a calm person does. His hand is on the trigger. Maybe he's not even used to handling a gun. He doesn't understand that you don't do that until you are about to shoot. Your finger should never rest on the trigger of a gun. It should always rest on the outside, away from said trigger, until the moment that you have said, I am doing this thing. I've made my decision. We're moving forward. I move my finger here. We're moving in this direction. Okay. Now, when we do this, he's holding it in a way that signifies that he's not even used to handling a gun. He doesn't understand any of the safety protocols or anything. Maybe the safety's been off the whole time. He's lucky it didn't go off in his pocket. And he accidentally shoots Ben. And then he has to live with that. But regardless of anything, the whole reason he was doing it was for his kid. I like all of that. I can rationalize and put all of that to story and say, hey, I'm okay with this. I think I see where we're going. Let's see how it plays out. So then he randomly steals stuff the whole movie. The whole movie. He's stealing money. He's stealing money down there in the subway tunnels, like in the weird sewers that don't seem like a real place to me, but I guess they are. He's down there. And he fights Spider-Man, and he's got his money, and he drops it, and then he gets washed out. Did he go back down there and get that money? Because I mean, he got it, and I don't know where he stole that money from. We don't ever get any indication as to how that was. Because like Sandman, strangely, after that point in the film, right, when they introduce and they do all that stuff, he just shows up randomly walking around. Like we never see him do anything or focus on him. Remember how Doc Ock, we kept switching back to him to figure out what was going on, where he was, what he was doing, why he was doing these things, and what that was moving towards. And so then like we bring Spider-Man and then they meet up because there's situations playing out on both sides. Sandman, because we decided to spend a lot of time with Eddie Brock and develop Venom, Sandman just like randomly shows up at weird areas. Like he's walking in the subways and Spider-Man just finds him in the subways. How did that happen? Because. And then later, Venom just finds him in an alley where he's like walking randomly down the street because reasons? I don't know. Even when he shows up after his accident, the way he is introduced, like when the cops find him and whatnot, is because he's randomly walking down the street pouring sand out of his ear, which isn't actually sand coming out of his ear because he is all sand, so it's sand that came out of his sand, whatever. So every time we introduce Sandman past his main introduction is because he is randomly walking down the street. We introduce him 3 to 4 times in the movie because he is randomly walking somewhere. And the other characters just like bump into him. What is he doing? Has he just stolen some money? Is he walking around thinking like, man, I gotta find some money for my daughter somehow. I gotta do. What's that? Oh, it must be Spider-Man. I'll hit him. Bow. Oh, wait, this is a monster. And you know what's really weird about that whole scene? He grabs Venom. He has it. He thinks it's Spider-Man. Then it screams in his face. Bah! And he's like, oh, what? That ain't Spider-Man. This is a creature thing. And then he just throws it. And if you're watching that scene, he immediately starts to just walk away. He's like, oh, I don't even know what this thing is. Bye. And then he just starts going. He just starts walking down the road again. And Venom has to like get his attention and be like, hey, Marco, I know about your kid and everything. And then he turns around like, dude, I'm just trying to walk randomly from scene to scene. Like, I didn't even know I was supposed to interact with you. You know what? Go ahead. Give me your bad guy spiel. Well, the whole time all this is going on, the reason I bring this up and say that it's weird that we're doing this the way that we're doing it with Flint, right? Is any of that money going to his kid? Like, we never see his kid again. We never see her recover. We never focus again on the mom. We never focus on that household. We never see money go to that household and maybe she turns it down because this is not the way to do it. Look, this could probably save her kid, but there's a moral dilemma at play right now. And if we're going to be the people we claim to be, does she use that money because now it's on her doorstep, or does she turn it in because of the situation and she knows where it came from and she knows it's not right, but this could cost her kid's life? Where's that storyline? And I know the answer is because we added Venom and then we had to spend time on Venom. So like we lost everything that like was going on with Sandman. But like the more I look at the movie, even the end of the movie, what is Marco's goal? His goal, okay, his overall goal is to steal money for his kid. And Spider-Man has gotten in the way of that twice because Marco was randomly walking places. And those places also happen to be the same places where Spider-Man randomly happens to be. You know, so like when you randomly walk down the street and there's a random Spider-Man, it's a real pain in the butt because it's hard to steal money to give to your kid. It's tough. It's tough when you randomly walk down streets and sewers and whatever, and Spider-Man also happens to have the same walking path you do. It's tough. It's hard. Life is hard. So, like, we don't focus on any of that stuff because of that. And even the last fight is really weird to me because, like I said, the whole goal has been to get money for his kid. And then here comes Venom, the creature that was so insignificant just a moment ago that he just tossed it away like, oh, that ain't Spider-Man. That's a monster. Get out of here. I got to continue walking. That monster then goes, hey, would you like to, like kill Spider-Man? And he's like, I mean, sure. But like, why? What character change? Like, if we had a little bit of information that he maybe did send some money and she turned it down and now the kid is not getting the treatment and that makes him feel a certain way, he can't even save his kid because the money still has to go to her so that she can actually set up the situations that would allow the kid to get treatment, and she's unwilling to do that because she knows where the money's coming from. And now he has a reason to walk around and be like, I have no options. I've ruined my life. I can't save my kid. Even getting the money didn't do anything because she won't use it. I don't know what to do. That would be something, but we don't get that. What we get is an indication that he didn't want to hurt Ben. He doesn't really know how to handle firearms and things like that. He accidentally kills a man. It really is tearing him up. He doesn't know how to deal with it. He wants to save his kid. He is this kind of tragic character. And even when Spider-Man shows up in their first encounter, he tells him, I don't want to hurt you. Because he doesn't. That is actually part of his character. He doesn't want to fight Spider-Man. He doesn't even want to hurt these guys that are driving the truck. He's going to go in, take money, get out. That's what he's going to do. That's his goal. But then Spider-Man comes through the roof and he's like, hey, buddy, can't be taking that money. And he's like, I'm going to do this. I have a reason to do it. You're going to move. Nope. I guess you haven't heard. I'm the sheriff in these parts. Look, man, I don't want to hurt you. Well, too bad. I'm Spider-Man. And he punches him, and then he's like, all right, fine. Big hand, bow, and that's all. He could have done a million things. He didn't. He chose to do one hit, bow, get out of my face. That's supposed to be the warning shot. Flint is this kind of character. So then we get to the end of the movie. And Angry Monster says, you want to kill the spider? Sure. How did we get here? Then we go to the end of the movie, and he's willing to just beat Spider-Man to death. Bow, bow, bow. And then the other weird thing about that is that once he does nearly beat Spider-Man to death, he sees Peter Parker. Okay? He sees him. He sees Parker, the kid, because he doesn't have his mask on. And then he just lays this whole thing on him. Hey, man, I accidentally killed your uncle. This is the situation. I don't expect you to forgive me, because he doesn't. He can't forgive himself. But I want you to understand. I want you to know. And then he flies off his dust. And that's kind of beautiful because, like, if the other parts of the movie that I just explained that didn't actually happen had actually played out the way they should have, he's not going off to do crime, but he doesn't know what to do now. He wants to save his kid, but there's no real way to do that right now, and he doesn't know the decisions that he makes next. But he's certainly not going back to jail because he can't help his kid from there. He's going to blow away in the wind. Okay, I'm willing to go with that, but like, how did he know who Peter was? They don't say the last name. They don't say Parker. This isn't something, because maybe that Ben Parker name repeats in his mind every night, right? That could make sense. But he doesn't know Peter. Sandman doesn't have a scene with Peter. He has scenes with Spider-Man. He has scenes with Venom. One could argue that counts as scenes with Eddie Brock. But Eddie Brock didn't explain the whole situation to him, not that we know. So, like, he sees Spider-Man without a mask and immediately goes, I killed your uncle, blah, 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 this and that. How did we get there? How does he know that? How does he know Peter? And he can't know Peter because of Ben, because there's no way that comes up in court necessarily when he, like, I imagine he just pled guilty. So if he does that, we're not having a court case, because also, like, the Parker family didn't even know he existed. So they didn't, like, go to court and have, like, a big thing where he was like, no, you got to understand, I didn't do this, I'm pleading innocent. He must have just pled guilty and nothing ever went past that thing. Because my mind is going real world now, which you're not really supposed to do with these movies, but, like, it does. Sometimes it just does, and it won't leave me alone. And, like, all of this happens to me when I watch Spider-Man 3 and I go, how did we get here? Why? What if he'd have told this kid this whole thing, blah, 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 this and that? Because maybe he says, oh, well, Spider-Man was after me because Ben Parker was shot in cold blood. What does that mean to you? Everything. Oh, okay, he must be related. He either makes that determination, or what if he would have went through that whole spiel and then Spider-Man would have went, who's Ben? Like, you don't know that kid. What if that kid had known Ben because that was his best friend's uncle? What if that's why it was everything? Because you hurt his best friend. Like, how did we get to that point in the third Spider-Man movie is weird. Would anybody disagree with that assessment? Let's open Sandman. Let's open not Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Okay. So, let me just say, he's a Marvel Legends. He has all the regular Marvel Legends movement and everything. But this is, I don't know what they're going to have to do to top this. That is a good Flint Marco. That's good colors. That's good design. Everything about him works. I don't even know if these pants are going to be a problem. Because it seems like I got him standing up and everything right off the bat. So it seems like this is not having the same foot problem that a lot of the pants figures have. Like, he comes with this extra head where, like, I don't know if he's been shot or what, but he's got, like, this hole, and that's really, really cool because it's like, it's sand. And then he's got these things for his arms, so you can put those on his wrists when you take the hands off. Then he's got big, punchy, sandy hand, which is really, really, really cool. And then he's got mace hand, because characters like this, like Clayface and Sandman and whatnot, always do mace hands. I don't know why, but that's like a thing. They all revert to the mace hand. It's just a go-to. Just mace hand it up. You want to show somebody something, you mace hand. And I think I have, from the old Build-A-Figure that I didn't get to complete, I think I have like one of the old hammer hands as well, which I'm sure is just interchangeable. That'll just work with this guy. This guy, the only thing they could have done that would have been better, that would have expanded this guy even further, is if you could remove the legs and plug in like a sand base, like where he's just coming up out of the sand. It's only his body and the rest is just like a base. That would be the dream. Otherwise, you can't do much better than this guy. Like, I'm going to put him on the shelf, and I think I'm going to power him up. I think that's perfect. I'm going to put this and this and these and this on him and swap that head and just put it in the tray because, you know, I buy these little bucket things. Like you can see them right over here. I just bought like 4 new ones that I put all the heads and whatnot. I have a Marvel Legends bucket and things like that. So I'm just going to put this head in the bucket and maybe it'll get used someday. Maybe like if I'm doing a picture or something like that where I need him to look a certain way. But like on the shelf, man, I'm going to sand this guy up, dude. This is basically perfect. Like, aside from that thing that I was saying that would have been really cool as the bottom base, this is cool. Like, maybe there could have been a couple, you could do a million things with the sand. So, like, yeah, you could do like a big sand shield and all kinds of things like that. This is a guy that I'm surprised does not come out more often. I'm being serious about that. Because, like, how many head sculpts could you do that are just like different things like this? And just different hands and different plugs and like a bottom base and like a big wall of sand that he just comes with or something like that. Like you could do a million things with this guy over and over and over and over and over again. But for just a standard release, all this, that's a perfect Sandman. Like, pop his head off, put this one on. Get your head on. Okay, that head is resisting quite a bit, actually, but I think I got it. And then I'm going to pull the hands. Is this it? Is this for this hand or whatever? Because I have a feeling that's what these are meant to do, is be the hands here, right? Yeah, I think so. And then this, so then this would go like that. And then this plugs in here. And like, that's just a standard figure, a standard release. You pick an action pose or whatever. This is, you can't do much better than this. Like, this face could be better. It could be like maybe a screaming face that just took a hit, and that would be cool. And like, but like, aside from mild complaints, this is like really, really well done. It's a basic release with all kinds of additives. It just works, man. That's just cool. That's a good figure. It's just no way around it. They have that one that's all sand from the movie. I didn't want that one. But this guy, as soon as I seen him on the store shelves, man, I didn't get him right away. I had to track him down at a convention and pay a little bit more extra money. But in the end, he only cost me about $40. And I was honestly willing to pay it for how well he's done. I have a bit of a payment rule that says if a figure reaches double its price at a convention, but it's a figure that's worth it, I'm willing to pay it. Once we exceed the 2 times value mark, you've priced me out, and I will wait for the next one. He was only going to cost $40. He's probably about a $27 figure, if not $40 at a Walmart anyway. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I cannot remember. But I was like, you know what? That's fine. I'll give you 40. Okay, here you go. And I bought him. And I don't regret it. I think he's very, very cool. He'll be very cool on the shelf, too. In a weird way, Spider-Man 3 takes the Return of the Jedi angle. That's true from a certain point of view in its own direction. Wife called, so I'm behind. But yes, the bat signal could cook food. Alton Brown made a grilled steak using tour ready stage lights. Wow! You see? Oh my god! Yeah, Falcone was cooking, man. I love the diversity among the backgrounds and origins of each and every one of Spider-Man's villains. Some are hit by life, desperate. Some are just there to make themselves rich. Some are pure evil. Absolutely. Yes. And I think that it is kind of important to just have some bad people. Some people are just bad people. In comic books, I don't necessarily 100% believe that. I think that there's got to be something, but you get the idea. But I don't need every hero. I don't need every villain to be sympathetic, because then it does start to get a little old. But like, I really like that idea for Flint. It really gives him. It really makes him something. I did like what Spider-Man 3 did with the character. In fact, I've noticed that in the video games they followed it up. Like, it's just it makes sense for him. It works. That's what I love about them. It makes them unique and not the same thing. They aren't all just petty criminals or mad scientists gone over the edge. Right. Stupid hiccups. Sandman wants Spider-Man gone, because then he won't randomly be walking down the streets as the same man. Duh. No random Spider-Man means I do what I want to do. Have come with some kinetic sand. That would have been neat if he would have come with like some kinetic sand or something like that, right? In fact, you could probably buy some of that kinetic sand and just kind of build your own display around him. That would be cool. Man, missed him during the reissue craze last year. Was hoping to find him in stores. Never got lucky enough to find one. That sucks. And it does hit us sometimes, man. Sometimes we just keep your eyes open at them conventions, man. They open the malls up and things like that sometimes. Like I said, I got mine for about 40. Well, guys, I'm going to get out of here. My wife should be coming home with groceries and whatnot here soon. We have like nothing because we've had no cars, so we can't make a grocery run. So we just kind of roughing it as rough as we can rough it. But I think I'm hearing car doors. That could be my neighbor, but it could be her. Either way, she should be on her way very soon because it's like 11:40, and I got to help carry in the groceries and do stuff we're supposed to do. I hope this has extended the weekend a little more, put off that Monday. We opened some toys, we had some discussions, and I'll catch everybody later. And I hope to actually be working on the videos to catch up with some of these, to catch up with some of the chapters this week. We'll see. I'm going to get out of here.